Hi, Jordan.
Hi,
How
how
are
are you?
you?
I'm doing well. How are
I'm
you?
good.
Good.
I'm great. First of all, I'm going to introduce myself and the page, and then I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and the band. First of all, my name is Mayara. I'm from the website called Big Rock and Roll, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. It's so important to interview you. Like the album will come, and I'm really excited to finally listen on Spotify and everything with all the songs. So, can
Mm,
you introduce yourself to the fans and to the others that they are going to watch this interview, please?
sure. My name is Jordan, and I sing and write words for a band called La Dispute from Michigan in the United States. So, pleasure to be here with you. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
No One Was Driving the Car. That is the name of the new album, right? Is your first self-produced album. So why did you decide to do it this way? And how was the experience?
I mean, I think we knew pretty early on that we wanted to self-produce, and it was a pretty easy decision to make, honestly. I think we have learned a lot in our years making music together. We've always been pretty particular about how we capture the music we make together. And I think we've always had a pretty prominent hand in how we produce records with other people. So I think we the more we've learned, the more skills we've acquired, and um, the more members of my band have become interested in the audio aspect of making music, the more equipped we felt to just fully embrace autonomy and have no other considerations. And I think part of that was just understanding that the people who know us best are ourselves, and the connections that we've built over the years sort of transcend others, and it was easy to settle on a place where it was just the five of us and an engineer in the studio. And I think it really unlocked some things because there's no doubt, there's only trust. And when you're trying something new or pursuing something perhaps a bit out of the ordinary with only people you trust and that you know have faith in who you are and what you are capable of as an artist, you're really able to like commit yourself to trying them. And I think it was maybe a bit of a daunting decision to make because you just never know. But I think ultimately we felt pretty confident from day one that it was something we could do and wanted to do. And I think it played out even better than we expected or hoped.
This album has an inspiration when we see about the movie First Reformed. So, what about that film connected with you and with the band?
Sure. I think that I felt, in the years after our previous record, generally before we start on the next thing, I spend a lot of time just collecting information and observing the world around me, and certain things stick around, certain stories attach themselves to my brain for one reason or another. And I think eventually the the through line emerges, and I can see what about each thing attracted me to them and made them stay around for as long as they have. And um, from there, we arrive at like a concept. But I think, and I think First Reformed was one of those things. It's just a film that I saw and then took multiple people to see within a week because it impacted me so much. And I think when I was trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to write about, that was a reference point for me, because I think what I was experiencing and continue to experience is a sort of sense of unease about the world and about the direction that we're heading, a sort of helplessness in the face of great tragedy, personal and communal. And I think it's a remarkable work of art in how effectively it captures that sort of feeling. And we knew we wanted to kind of make a cinematic record, so it made sense to on that level too to use it as a sort of structural guide at the beginning, but as like a tonal guide as well. And um, yeah, I think it's just like captures a sense of uncertainty and helplessness that I think we're all kind of collectively feeling in the 21st century.
I have two friends that they are really fan of the band. And when
Cool.
I asked about it, they said, oh, it's very poetry. The first thing
Mm,
about it. And I have a question about this because your lyrics, they sound a lot like poetry or short stories. Do you usually start with the words or do you start with the music when we talk about the lyrics?
sure. So it's a weird little back and forth. We all sort of feed into each other, but we'll start with an idea that I have for a song, usually a story or a particular image, whatever it might be, and I'll spend time thinking about or writing out what I in this very specifically in this record I wrote I'll have a story and I would write something about the idea the story and I would read that to my bandmates, um, a sort of free written kind of prose piece about what would eventually become a song as a pitch for what the song would be, and then from there my bandmates translate that into the music. And at first mood you hear a story read and you think, what feelings does this evoke in me and how do we capture that instrumentally? And but then also structure, there are beats in most of the stories, they go from one place to another and then to another, and they'll build the structure around that as well, keeping in mind what space I have to tell the story I want to tell. And then once the music is coming into clearer view, then it'll go back to me and then I'll write the actual words over top. So it starts with an idea from me, a story from me, and then the music. And then once the music is done or close to done, then I'll start to actually write the specific words and build the parts to kind of like put the finishing touch on it, I suppose. And so it's a little bit back and forth. And sometimes I'll pitch a story and my bandmates will hear it one way and start writing, and that'll move me in a direction I didn't expect. So it's really like a back and forth kind of, it's kind of a cycle, and it's one that works for us.
Do you know like Brazilian poetry or a Brazilian writer? Do you know
You know,
someone here?
I don't know that I have read any Brazilian poets, or I'm sure that I have read a Brazilian writer of fiction at some point in time, but there is so much to read. And for shame, am not always the most disciplined reader, or I get into very specific pockets of literature and I spend a lot of time there over a period of time, and then I spend a lot of time not reading nearly as much as I ought to. So uh, I'll have to do you have any recommendations?
We talk a lot about Clarice Lispector.
Okay.
Do you know Clarice Lispector and Fernando Pessoa?
You know what? I have read Clarice Lispector now that you say it, and I got to look at my bookshelf to remember which one I read. But so I have read a Brazilian writer. I knew there was at least one.
So
What did I
yes,
read?
Clarice Lispector, it's very famous here in Brazil. Like she's a writer, but when we are in the school, we have to read Clarice Lispector. It's
Okay,
like an obligation here in the school,
sure.
but it's really awesome. We love
Yeah,
Clarice Lispector here.
that's fantastic because I mean I am pretty interested in literature, but pretty specific, at least in the American eco or whatever the sphere of influence. I think that Clarice Lispector is very like in a very literary corner of the written world in an English speaking country. So it's yeah, what did I'm trying to remember which book I read, but um The Passion According to GH I read a few years ago. So I'll have to dig even further.
Talking about the songs of the new album again. So, was there one song on the new record that was the hardest to finish?
Yeah, there's kind of like multiple answers. The song, there's a song called Self Portrait Backwards that was challenging for me because it is a bit more withdrawn and a slower tempo and requires an approach that is not necessarily the one that I've utilized the most in the past. So it felt challenging in that respect, where I had to sort of uh, find a confidence in my ability to do something outside of the ordinary. And it was challenging in that respect, but ultimately maybe the most rewarding of the songs on the record because of it. Um, and then there were other songs that were challenging because of the subject matter, because of the content, because I realized after having written the words, uh, the subjects that I discussed were ones I hadn't necessarily explored on my own time individually in a healthy way. I process things a bit, I think, through the music that we create because I've done it that way for so long. And when I'm writing them, when I'm writing the words to songs, I feel very absorbed in the process. So I don't necessarily think about what exactly I'm saying until I am in the room recording the vocals, saying them out loud and embodying that feeling or character. And so there were a couple songs. I Dreamt of a Room and Steve come to mind that like I think really helped me process things in my life and were difficult in a way I didn't expect.
And I have two more questions, but this one right now, it's like a curious question about South America. Can we expect the band to come here with a tour?
Yeah, at some point, yeah, we are embarrassed at how little time we've spent in South America. We've only made the trip to Brazil and never elsewhere, and that was almost 10 years ago, or it was 10 years ago. So um, it's pretty high on our priority list to make a trip to South America, to come back to Brazil, to see more places that we neglected on our previous trip down south. So I don't know when that will happen, but I can say with confidence that it will because we've been really trying to prioritize it and not just for the people who have supported us so consistently without us ever coming, but for us too to have the opportunity to meet and connect with new people and see new places. And it's a shame that we've not done so earlier, but we're working on making it happen in the near future.
If someone is listening to the band for the first time, which song from the new album should they start with? And which song from the all the albums the person is going to listen like to really know the band? So one from the new album and the other from the other.
Sure. From the new album, I think I would say, my goodness, it's hard to pick. I think Environmental Catastrophe Film is a pretty good encapsulation of our band, although telling somebody to listen to a 9-minute song for their first experience is maybe a bad idea from a utility aspect. But no, I think that song is like, it shows a lot of different components of our band in the course of its runtime. And I think that you want people to hear a little bit of everything that you do. And our band does a lot of different things because we're interested in a lot of different things. Um, from an old record, it's challenging. Uh, I think, assuming the person is going to listen to both songs, I think the song Woman in Mirror shows a side of us that people don't anticipate, and it maybe would push them to thinking our band sounds different than it does. But I think something we're immensely proud of is that we uh, pursue different things, that we are attracted to different things, and love to challenge ourselves to write beyond our familiar processes. So we'll go with those two.
So that's it, Jordan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it a lot. Hope
Of
to
course,
see you here.
it
And
will.
and thank you, D Music Marketing. Thanks for recording here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for speaking with me. It was really a lot of fun. I appreciate you taking the time. And
I appreciate it.
we'll make the trip at some point, I promise.
Please.